This is a few, this is.
Well, I guess that's a hint.
Parts of it.
Or angels are getting their wings or something.
Oh,
You ready?
teachers?
We will call to order the planning commission meeting for September 11th, 2024. Roll call, please.
Chairman Neff,
Here.
Commissioner Banfield,
Here.
Commissioner Bright, Commissioner Fitzgerald, Commissioner Hodo, Commissioner Longyear, Commissioner Stewart,
Here.
Commissioner Zuck. We have a quorum, Your Honor.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from August 14th, 2024.
Move to approve. Banfield.
Support Fitzgerald.
Are there any corrections?
I have one, just updating it to strike Julie's name from it. She was not absent because she was no longer a planning commissioner.
Anything else?
That's it for me.
With that correction, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved, Stewart.
Are there any additions?
Second, Hodo.
Any additions or changes? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Public comment on agenda items. So this is the time when the public can come forward and speak about anything that's on the agenda. If you have something to say that's not on the agenda, there'll be a time for that later. So if you want to speak on an agenda item, please come forward. There, if you could tell your name and your address.
Andrea Hall, 1102 O'Keefe.
Thank you.
So after last month's meeting, when the acting committee chair voiced the need for fairness to the developer of the Valley View development, it sort of feels like the approval for that is a foregone conclusion. Despite that, I feel the need to make a couple of points. To start, this development doesn't fit the current zoning ordinance for R2 suburban residential district in the following ways. Developments within R2 are meant to be low density. This development is not. As I pointed out before, each property within the R2 should average at least 12,000 square feet of land. In this development, the average is 10,000, most or less than that, coming in at the bare minimum of 9,000 square feet. In addition, the zoning ordinance clearly states that any new development should be consistent with the existing. This development clearly is not. In fact, existing properties in the area have 2 to 3 times that much land. And in my case, I could fit nearly 5 of the new properties on my lot. So that's not consistent. Lastly, maximum lot coverage is supposed to be less than 30%. The document from McKenna indicates that lot coverage will be greater than 30%, but then goes on to state that this development is ordinance compliant. I'm not exactly sure what I'm missing, but something seems wrong. Next, it's no secret that I'm skeptical of the stormwater management for this development. I think the city should be making it clear to adjacent homeowners that they could be affected by the privately managed stormwater from this development, and who to contact if they believe they're being impacted by any runoff. Since I can find no language indicating that the city or county will be monitoring how the system is functioning. In addition, the city should make clear how damages will be addressed should a failure of the system occur. And just so it's on the record, homeowners insurance, flood insurance, and any other supplemental policies will not cover you for this type of damage. Each homeowner is on his or her own. Finally, I'd like to ask the developer to be mindful of the existing trees. Many of them are well-established and healthy. They deserve some deference, even if no one will prevent their removal in the name of population growth and tax revenue. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? Go ahead, Mr. Kowalski.
I'm not Glenn Kowalski.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
Wow. Barry Wayne Adams, 622 West Green Street. First of all, I want to commend your minutes in your agenda packet that you actually have the substance of what the speakers were making a public comment. But then within the pile of statistics that you have in there, it dilutes down the significance of a couple particular aspects of the movement of the city government over the past year and a half, 2 years. And that was the vote of the Joint Planning Commission to not recommend the changing of the zoning to I3 with the subsequent ignoring of that recommendation by the city council. But within all the other morass of statistics and other things, I mean, people, 15 years, 20 years, if they decide to look at this stuff, it was just, another insignificant occurrence, although things have been continuing on with the outcome of what's going on over there. And consistent with what the young lady was talking about just a minute ago, there seem to be problems with the containment of water runoff and those kind of issues over there. So we're seeing that the response at this point by Eagle has been relatively weak, and we do have a concern about what's going to happen to that land over there, particularly if there would happen to be an actual massive release of lithium. So again, in the spirit of planning, sometimes you have to rethink your planning, and as much as the EV automobile market has absolutely collapsed, the Blue Oval City down in Kentucky and Tennessee has been delayed. The project here is infrastructure being put in over here is also being put into question, that there be perhaps a different direction in the philosophy of what the city's planning efforts should be about. There's no qualm about anybody in town about there needing to be some sort of positive economic activity that is actually environmentally responsible, but the whole EV technology turns out to be a very non-green prospect. So about when it comes to planning, you need to keep in mind what's actually going on in the real world, aside from initiating a plan and then trying to work through it to the end, because with the traffic, all the other things that have been going on in town, the divisiveness, there could be other ways to go. So that's probably what will be happening at the Waterloo of November 5th. There's probably going to be a real shift in the wind, just like there was over in Marshall Township. So a lot of people are, trying to stay with the party line and, keep forward and the rest of those projects going. But sometimes you have to realize you made a mistake and change your mind. All right.
Thank you. Anyone? Public comment on agenda items? Seeing none, we'll move on to Public hearings, we have no public hearings. We have no old business. Reports, recommendations, and new business. We have the 2023 Community Services Department Annual Report.
Good evening. Yeah, I was gonna see if someone wanted to take the lead on this, but that's quite all right. I'm happy to. So, my name's Derek Perry. I'm the Marshall City Manager. Unfortunately, Eric Zuzka has left us. He was our Community Services Director and oversaw the Community Development Department for us. He's the one that put the heart and soul in preparing this report, and actually has probably more awareness on the intimate details. I'm probably the least person to be up here really explaining this report to you since you actually lived it. But as you're aware, the Michigan Planning Enabling Act requires that this report be done on an annual basis. So this report identifies what occurred in 2023, all of the activities of the Planning Commission, what this body accomplished, and maybe some ideas or recommendations that you wanted to make to the legislative body, which is the Marshall City Council. And again, it's before you tonight to see if you have any changes to that. If not, we're requesting that you recommend it for really submittal to city council, and then I'll put it on an agenda for the city council meeting probably in October. So.
Anybody have any questions? Any corrections?
I do have, so Commissioner Stewart, page 7, the table at the top, first row, it's just an incomplete statement. So I'd recommend that that be updated. Yeah, for final approval.
Michelle, if you can make that note for me, we can go back tomorrow and identify that.
Yeah, it states the commission drafted a proposed ordinance which, and just need to finish the sentence. So past that, everything looked great.
That's why Eric left. It's good complete sentences.
That is, no, the next thing is for something different.
Need a motion to move this along to council, and I'll make that.
Second,
With
All those in favor of sending this to council with the corrections made by Commissioner Stewart, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
This issue is group site.
again, for a discussion purposes, I'll make a motion to the site condominium Valley View as presented.
Second, hold on.
Yeah, let's discuss it first. Is there any, are there any concerns? Anything anybody wants to say regarding this final approval? There are recommendations that were made by the city, by staff. That are found in.
Since Jeff, do you have, you put those together? didn't
Yep. That's correct. I can go over that if you'd like. Good evening, everybody. Jeff Kiesler from McKenna. We did do a review of the Valley View site condominium project. Just quickly, it is a 27-unit residential condominium cul-de-sac. It is going to be built out in 2 phases. The first phase being 17 units along Valley View Court, and then the second phase, 10 units along Clifton Meadows Road. If you want, I can just kind of walk through the review, but we didn't find any issues with the dimensional standards. And I believe that the maximum lot coverage, I believe that arrow is actually a typo. Do you gentlemen have the square footage of the homes?
It'll be less than 30%.
That's, so I mean, even if we're looking at a 9,000 square foot lot, if the home is less than 3,000 square feet, then we're in compliance there. But we did find that the development does meet the design standards of the city. And I'd be happy to talk about any of those if you'd like, but if not, we can move on to the next page, which is parking, which we didn't really find any issues with parking. The one thing that was unclear from the submitted plan was just that it's unclear if is parking for 2 cars, which we're assuming there is. But if you guys can just make that known, that would be good. So other than that, no other issues with parking or circulation as they're building single family homes. So lighting, same kind of situation, just a detail. We're assuming on these single family homes that there are going to be porch lights, probably front and back. And if you guys want to confirm that now, or, but if you want to just state that, that would be, that would be great. Are
Are you going to speak? Because maybe you could come up and.
gonna let you.
Okay. Perfect, perfect.
Sorry about that. I'll talk to you guys, not the audience. Roads. So there's the deeding process. The city will need to accept the dedication of the roads prior to construction. Same thing with water and sanitary. We're recommending that the master deed specifically and clearly state that water and sanitary sewer infrastructure within the public right of way will be owned and maintained by the city of Marshall. And is not a general common element. So they're gonna have city sewer and water. But we just want, we're recommending that be stated so that someday when all of us are no longer here, there will be no confusion, all right? And that's same thing with the roads. Well and septic, no issues. These homes are gonna be required to be hooked up, so that's not a problem. Stormwater, site condominium will include a private stormwater system, but will also connect to the city system. The city attorney has provided language to clearly define the roles and responsibilities of the homeowners association and the city when it comes to stormwater. So that's good. Sidewalks, we are recommending that language be added stating that sidewalks must be maintained in compliance with the city's ordinance 90 and all other applicable city ordinances. And garages, we're recommending this, that the bylaws be amended to require a 2-stall garage. And landscaping. So landscaping is kind of something that we've been going back and forth a little bit about. And so a little bit of prior knowledge. There was a meeting on June 12th. And there was some discussion at that meeting of acceptable landscaping for the development. The planning commission agreed to that. And then in our review, we were sort of without that knowledge and hammering them with your, wonderful landscaping standards. So we have had a discussion with the developer about that. And that's as a result of that, we're taking off number 2 and number 3 of our recommendations. And I can go through those quickly too, but we are just asking that the developers present us with the kind of landscaping package they can offer. And that way we can, we can sort of take a look at that. The street trees, they were included on an early site plan. And they meet the standard that the planning commission agreed to on June 12th. So we're okay with that if you guys are still okay with that. But our recommendations, so we're recommending the planning commission approve the site plan to build the 27 units with the following conditions. Number 1, the applicant should confirm that the homes will have 2-car garages and amend the bylaws to reflect that. Number 4, the applicant should confirm that the homes will have porch or front yard lights as well as rear entrance lights. Number 5, review and approval of the final condo bylaws and master deed by McKenna and the city attorney including revisions to the master deed as described in this letter. Number 6, review and approval of the utility extensions and connections by the Department of Public Works. Number 7, approval of the road dedication by the city. And number 8, review and approval by the city engineer. So, said a lot of words there, but yeah, there was kind of a little bit of a negotiating about the landscaping, and if the planning commission would like, I think the developer is prepared to talk about that, so.
I think we would like that. Come on up.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mike West. I'm representing Green Development Ventures, 2186 East Center Avenue in Portage, Michigan. Also with me today is Dan Lewis with VK Civil Engineering. Like to thank Jeff for the staff report and for the conversations we had last couple of days with them, and Mr. Chris Corey from McKenna as well. But first thing I'll do, I'll just go through a couple of the things that Jeff highlighted in the staff report and kind of go on record acknowledging that. The first issue that he had was regarding the houses, confirming that they'll have 2-car garages. So all the houses will have 2-car garages. The standard portfolio homes that we submitted, that I think you guys looked at back in June, shows 2-car garages. That's what we're gonna do. Our master deed and our bylaws are kind of boilerplate language, and I think there's a sentence in there that they caught that said at least 1-car garage. Well, yeah, it's gonna have 2, but that's at least 1, but I guess they feel more comfortable with 2. If that's what the city attorney wants, we'll amend the master deed accordingly. Lighting, yes, we're gonna have lighting in compliance with what the building code requirements are. So that would be I believe a front and a rear exterior light. Master deed and bylaw changes that they reference. Again, we've submitted a draft master deed and bylaws. The attorney actually provided us a red line copy with a clean version in August. So we accepted all those changes. As a condition, if there's additional changes, we'd be more than happy to work with them. I just got to run them through our attorney to make sure that there's no problems, but none of this stuff will be a problem.
Those attorneys mess everything up.
You know, it's all about getting an hour or 2 out of it, so I guess.
Ooh, ow.
So I guess getting back to the recommendations, there was originally 8. And we're absolutely fine with the revised recommendations, which would be 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, as Jeff read. In regards to 2 and 3, I went back and forth with McKenna. I didn't want to belabor you guys with the conversation, but I think there's a little bit of misunderstanding with the screening requirements. That was number 2. We walked through it. I kind of gave them some background information that they didn't have. Back in June, when you guys approved the preliminary plan, there was a conclusion both written by Eric and concluded by you in the meeting minutes that said that those screening provisions really are not applicable to a single family residential subdivision. So the 2 is kind of out. In regards to 3, and that's landscaping, McKenna agreed with us that there is no ordinance requirement, but again, I want to give you guys assurances that obviously we want our subdivisions to look good. And we do offer landscape packages. And I brought a board. I mean, I don't know how well you can see this, but you know, we have different landscaping packages here. This is kind of a blow up of one of what we offer. Really what it is the frontage. So when you get a house, you're gonna have a yard, you have the street tree, and you have your choice if you want to put any of these landscape packages up. They typically are very general. Shrubs, some daylilies, some edging, river rock up along the front. Most people don't purchase that package from us. They do it on their own. Some don't even want the lawn put in. They'll put it in on their own. I actually drove through the development to the north and saw a gentleman this evening with a seed spreader and a bag of seed. He's establishing his lawn himself. But we offer underground irrigation. We offer a different landscaping package if so desired. But we didn't want to mandate that on everybody that comes in because a lot of people do it incrementally. Some people have the funds to get all the bells and whistles up front. Some people want to do it slowly. When my wife and I built our first house, it took us a 3 years to get it in. We deferred on everything, including the underground irrigation, which now I wish I would have had because when summers are bad, it doesn't look good and I can't run around with the sprinkler and keep up with it. But we do offer it, and just want to let you know, we want it to look good as well, so. With that, I guess if you have any questions for me or Dan, we'd be more than happy to try to answer them for you.
Can you address Ms. Hall's concern about the average square footage?
Well, I think, so the lots to the west and to the north of us are different size. They're different ages. I looked at the lot sizes. I believe she's to the north off O'Keefe. Starting, if you start, first of all, we meet all the standards. I mean, the standard's 99,000 square feet. Our smallest lot's 9,000, but we do have them upwards to 20,000 in the cul-de-sac. So they range from 9,000 to 20,000 square feet. The neighborhood immediately to the west of us off Allen, that's a 1960s subdivision. And those lot sizes, I looked online, they're 10 to 12,000 square feet. So they're right in our wheelhouse and they abut us to the west. You go to the north, those get slightly larger. Those are anywhere between 14,000 and 22,000, I think, when I was clicking on them. So again, similar to some of our lots, not exact, but similar. So from a compatibility standpoint, I don't know why. I don't even know if the zoning is the same to the north. I didn't even look at that, but you know, sometimes people purchase double lots when they build the homes. Those homes off O'Keefe, I think, were built primarily in the 80s and 90s. So I don't know what standards were back then, but we do meet all the ordinance requirements. So we assure you that. And you know, we're installing sidewalks along all the frontages. It's going to be, the houses are going to be comparable in price and size. I don't know what else to say other than I understand people don't want to see it developed, but I get that everywhere I go. So it's not unusual. So.
Any other questions?
I did want to get a point of clarification in the 30% of 9,000 is only 2,700. And I wanted to get a clarification on what counts for lot coverage. Is it just the structure?
It would be,
Yeah, I'm not sure how you guys define it. In most of the other communities, it's building. It doesn't include like the driveway. It's building, so everything with the roof. So even though we offer like 2,200 square foot homes, those are ranches. Those are 2 stories. So your footprint's much smaller. They will ensure that all that standard is met with any building permit we issue, but we will be below 30% lot coverage, whatever the standard is. I just don't know what it is offhand.
But even like a deck or patio doesn't count towards.
I don't
lot
think that
coverage?
counts as lot coverage. I'm not sure. Yeah. Yeah. Typically it's building, but it varies from community to community. Whatever it is,
I wouldn't say typically with what I have to work with, we work with anything that's impervious, as Jeff said, as well as swimming pools, which are impervious. Any kind of, there's townships like Meridian Township, which includes patios now, not decks, because the water can pass through a deck. But anything that the water is running off, including the roof and the driveway, is considered to be lot coverage.
yeah, well, whatever that standard is, we'll meet it.
Like there was discussion at a previous meeting about a connecting sidewalk. Is that in the plan or is that out?
Well, it's not in our plan. I was not at the last meeting. I know Dan was there. I don't know if, my understanding is that we kind of put that back on the city, because if it was going to be a walkway, it would be a city walkway because it's going over top of a water main. So it would be something they would maintain. We have not heard a definitive answer whether they want it or not. I'll be real honest with you. We're not thrilled about it, because we're going to have if that happens, we'd have a walkway that encumbers 4 lots they'd have this walkway on there. And it just reduces the privacy and the enjoyment of the land. So, I mean, we're not adamantly opposed to it, but we prefer not to have it. And we have not heard anybody from the city say they'd like to see us install it. So.
Condition 8, really Marguerite is the last, and I think she's still chewing on that. We had a great discussion in our design team meeting a week ago, and she's chewing on that of like, if she needs to get at that water main, then she's got a, concrete sidewalk patch. Is that good? Is that bad? And these are not Allen Evelyn folks. 20 years from now, it's going through side yards of your residents. So I think number 8 covers that. If she wants it, Alan Edwin at the last meeting, Ben said, you know, that we'd be willing to do that. Is that right for the city? Yep. She'll have to maintain it.
And I'm sorry, but because we're making a record, can you please state your name? Thank you.
Yeah, if it's the city engineer, then that's, the city engineer has the final approval on all plans, including drainage and storm runoff and
Yep,
everything.
yep. And yeah, I think what we've kind of heard is that it's not popular as well because of the issue over the water. So, yep. But yeah, we'd be happy to support it if it works out for you guys. If it's a, you know, a not a great idea, we don't want to get you guys to agree to that either.
Well, I mean, you know, here's the thing is we're working on the new master plan and one of the big issues, of course, is walkability. And I'm kind of struggling with the idea that we're trying to make Marshall more walkable and we're not putting in sidewalks.
Agreed.
Every. Yeah. Yeah.
And there's some great issues along with it being water. It's much and I, does it make sense? Right? So.
And if she comes back saying we want it, we'll agree to it. That's all, you can put that in the minutes. I mean, I don't object to that, but if the city wants it, if Marguerite says we'll take it there, then we'll agree to do that.
So I know you're gonna have 2-car garages. What other parking will there be per house?
Driveways, you know, typical driveways like anything,
Okay.
you'll have a private driveway. So, you know, with a setback of 30 feet from the right of way line, you know, you have enough room there for at least 2 cars,
Okay.
at least. Yeah.
Does this city ordinance on parking overnight affect this development?
I think on the public streets it does, clearly, yeah. So whatever that is, we'll adhere to that.
There'll be signage as such.
If that's what the city wants, we'll install it just consistent with whatever their roadway requirements are.
We don't put up signs, it's just not allowed.
No. You're gonna come to,
It's to the city. So like any of the main entrances on Kalamazoo or Michigan Ave, there's a sign that says no on-street parking between 2 and 6.
you're gonna come take them down.
Any additional questions or comments?
I don't understand building a development, I guess this is personal, obviously, but I don't understand building a development that doesn't consider landscaping to be an important factor. I can't imagine a developer that doesn't require a small amount of landscaping, whether or not the homeowner does it or the developer does it. And I also don't understand how a developer could not have a requirement for an established lawn around a new home where there is a large possibility of runoff without getting it down as quick as possible. So if you don't have that as a requirement, if it's suggested or you have packages to purchase, that's no different, to me, that's no different than buying a particular kind of carpet that's been offered. But as far as the development is concerned, I don't understand that part, I guess.
Well, we do have a requirement that if they choose not to get our lawn package, that they must have that lawn established. I think it says within
You do
12
have
months. Absolutely. Yeah, it's written into the condominium registries because, and I think it's probably a city requirement too. So some people just don't want to pay for the hydro seed. I mean, they want to do it themselves. I saw a gentleman doing it this evening, just to the north. So
Yeah, I didn't mean that. I meant that it's required that it be done either by the homeowner or.
yeah, and you know, I drove that neighborhood and that neighborhood is anywhere from 20 to 30 years old to 50 to 60 years old. And there's some areas that are beautifully landscaped lots and there's other lots that have very little. They have a street tree and that's about it. And so I think it's personal preference in anything. Some are irrigated. I think most are not irrigated. Same thing in my neighborhood. I was the first one in on a 19 lot cul-de-sac. We just didn't have the money for underground irrigation or landscaping. So my neighbor, everything, they got all the bells and whistles. They got thousands of dollars in landscaping. So it's really a personal discretion. And, you know, generally speaking, it takes a couple years for everything to set, but it looks good. It just takes time on a new development.
Did you say it was within 12 months, the requirement?
I believe that's what it says in our master deed, within 12 months. Yeah, because you have, if you move in November or something, it might not.
Right.
Yeah, it might be 6 months. I'm not sure what it says exactly in that.
I mean, I know the houses on Forest had, there were some communication struggles on lawn and I know several of them went the whole summer without being able to do anything because by the time they figured it out, they were
Yeah.
past when good planting.
Can't grow, right? Yeah, I mean, you can plant like now, the next couple of months you can plant, but you're just gonna get the sprouts is all you're gonna get. You're not gonna get it solid, so. Yeah, we discussed that with everybody that, if we build the house, we'll put the lawn in, obviously, if it's a spec home or something, we'll lawn it, but sometimes people want to save whatever that savings is, which we had hydro seed when we built our house, but I didn't have anything else. We did everything else ourselves, little by little, so.
How long does the hydro seed take to establish?
I don't know. That's not my area. I would say it probably takes a couple months to get going. It probably sprouts within a few weeks, but it's all about seasonality when you get it in there. If you're moving in December, you can't really do anything until the spring.
So I've had 4 people approach me today, teary-eyed with the mature trees coming down in that neighborhood.
Yeah.
And one of the concerns that was raised by 2 of the people were, and I don't even know if this is a legitimate concern, but they're concerned that those trees coming down are going to contribute to the drainage issues of the trees in some way, assisted with the drainage.
Well, you're talking about the neighborhood to the north, Forest, right? You're talking about a different area. I mean, that particular development, and Dan can speak more to than this one. I'm more familiar with Valley View, but I can tell you Valley View has been over-engineered for stormwater management. It's going to be the best stormwater management you have in any subdivision, anything that's existing. I'm not as familiar with the north. I know there's some history to the north. I think some of the infrastructure was put in, so I can't speak directly to that, but I know Valley View has been looked at with a microscope from multiple different sources, and it's going to be a very efficient system that has relief in case there is some crazy 100-year, 200-year storm event. There's provisions in there to manage that. So
I can give a little insight there. The Forest Street was actually laid out and approved, I believe in like 2005. And the construction happened in 2006. So all of that was laid out. None of that came back before us because it was all already done and approved under Mr. Clifton. So.
To each of mine though, what isn't built yet, so trees coming down are the first piece. And part of the reason some of them needed to come down is we are designing a rear yard swale on the east side of the new development. So there's going to be an improvement to the existing drainage as a part of like the sanitary sewer needs to go in yet and road needs to go in yet. With that, there's a rear yard swale on the east side that to see. And so if you want to communicate that back, or might have Marguerite communicate that back to those residents, there is a community for the drainage, we just got.
I prefer Marguerite communicate that because it's taken a lot of my day today.
So also, Madam Chair, you weren't here last time, but I just want to direct everybody to the Ms. Hall's, one of her other concerns was about the city, the liability and maintenance of the stormwater. And I'm just going back to the minutes. The gentleman was from Clark Hill, that was a consultant on this project, I guess. If maintenance is not held to standards, the city would provide the HOA with a 30-day notice to repair, and then the city would fix the issues and bill the HOA. If left unpaid, the fees would move on to taxes, and he kind of explained that process. So there is a fail safe. The city will take care of it to standard.
Yeah. And I'm so sorry, but the time for public comment. I
Trying to address the concern so everybody knew, and I know.
No, it's okay.
Yeah.
The attorney did add that to the master deed and condominium bylaws, so it's in there, memorialized in there, and that's common language that we have in other similar arrangements, so.
I would the reason I asked Jeff if Marguerite has the final say is that I have full confidence in her to make those decisions or make any additions and to speak for us. She's, you know, she does a wonderful job, but especially with the engineering and as it relates to site runoff and so forth. So I have full confidence in her making the final decision.
I think we talked about that at the last meeting. Marguerite hired Spicer. And they are the consultant for many grant commissioners to review the stormwater and that has a consultant, so.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
I think we have to add those conditions.
Yeah, for
Just
sure.
Conditions.
Any more discussion?
Just making sure that the updates that were noted will be made just for future reference.
So the recommendations that we want to include, does anyone want to make a motion to include the particular recommendations?
I think you just did.
Yeah, it would be, I mean, so I make a motion for approval with the correction made as noted and the updates to the list of recommendations.
I think there's a motion on the table, isn't there, Michelle?
Sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
so those are
Friendly amendment.
friendly amendment.
So Commissioner Stewart, friendly amendment for the, what's it called? Sorry, dimensional standards table to be updated to make the correction for the maximum lot coverage. As well as the list of recommendations, striking 2 and 3 and correcting all bullet numbers.
And who supported that original motion? Do you accept the friendly amendments?
Support, I accept that.
All those in favor signify by saying, and this would be in favor of the final approval for this this site plan with the recommendations added. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Seeing none, the motion carries.
Go build a beautiful development.
Public comment on non-agenda items. Anyone wants to speak on non-agenda items? Mr. Adams.
Amazing, you guys always have something to say to each other when I come up to talk. Okay, Barry, Wayne Adams again, 622 West Green Street. Thing is, to what extent does the city have over a private entity's choice of building design and how they want to implement it on a land site? You know, I can understand the need for a building standard where you know you're gonna be able to have a structure that's gonna be able to stand up. But as to aspects of, you know, the size of the building or those kind of things, it seems like a real big overreach. And with these newer developments, it seems that both the city council and the planning commission here don't seem to realize that the real draw of Marshall, what brings in outside dollars, is the aspect of visiting a very historical town. And this need to do these furniture rearranging type of projects where all you're really doing is destroying the historical character of the town. that's eventually going to destroy, you know, that insatiable need for, tourist dollars. And, there seems to be a response from people outside of town as reflected in the, sparse response in last weekend's home tour that people aren't going to be so interested in trying to come and visit Marshall anymore, especially with all this new development towards accommodating a battery factory, which on its face appears to be failing. It probably will not go through at all. Even Channel 3 is starting to put out its little teasers suggesting that since the EV market has collapsed so severely that we need to bring into question the need for all that infrastructure over at the mega site. So there's a reluctance to maintain a contemporaneous scrutiny as to what's been going on in both in the internal city political dynamics and what's been going on in the real world with the catastrophic collapse of the battery plant. And it's time that, you know, should be opening up your eyes and seeing that the way that you've been going is not panning out. And since I have placed on myself on the ballot for mayor, that will, and upon my election, that will be a primary concern, as well as heightened transparency of the internal operations of the city government, and doing what you're supposed to do according to this thing. Now, it's good to see that you can still handle a 5-minute time period, but the city council has gone way overboard unconstitutionally, and that will be changing. As there is no constitutional authority to restrict either time-wise or topic-wise the nature of our public comments. We have that First Amendment, can't be restricted by any form of law, even the Open Meetings Act, which is how everybody in this county tries to pretend to restrict our time period to a ridiculous 3 minutes or 2 minutes, you know, but we've got to take it back, and we will. All right.
Thank you. Board reports. Any reports over there?
I will add that, in contradiction to Mr. Adams, I thought the home tour was a great success. We had, when my wife and I toured many of the homes, all of them had a nice stream of people heading through them. Had lunch at Schuler's and then dinner at Stagecoach, and both places were hopping. I've heard from a couple of downtown retailers that they had great traffic throughout the day on later on Saturday and most of the day on Sunday. So no, I thought home tour was fantastic, and I look forward to the 60th anniversary next year. Is that correct?
I think that's right.
Yeah.
I know I walked down from my house to my office on Saturday, and there were a lot of people out. And the farmer's market was hopping too.
Yeah. Oh.
Another just applause to the city for the work behind the copper by the library, as well as Exchange Street. Awesome additions.
It looks great, and the parking is so much better.
Yeah. So hopefully can set a nice trend for it helps the residents see opportunity elsewhere.
Nothing? Jeff?
I was trying to see if I could dig out the answer to the what is lot coverage question, but yeah, I'm gonna have to look a little deeper and get back to you guys on that. But other than that, I don't have anything else to add. So we have a couple of things to talk about next time if you guys are prepared for them. And yeah,
Well, and I'm sorry I wasn't here last month, but welcome.
thank you. Thank you very much. Nice to meet you.
He has cards.
Oh, yeah.
I just lose cards, but and I never have any of my own. I never do. Yeah, people are always like, do you have a card? I'm like, they're in my office. Yeah, yeah, that's, yeah. Yeah. Well, as much as I would love to make this an hour-long meeting, we could make it a 50-minute meeting. Yep, so we'll adjourn.